When you are new to designing databases, the tendency is to place all attributes into one or two tables. You need to remember that each table must be about one idea that is dependent on its primary key. This is where functional dependency plays a role in the database world. You use functional dependency to determine if you have the correct information in a table. Let's take, for example, a doctor's office and a patient who schedules a visit to see the doctor. When I think of a doctor's office, I immediately think of patients and doctors. That is two separate entities. Now I add my attributes to these entities. For patients, I want to include the patient ID, patient name, patient address, patient phone number, doctor, visit time, visit date, visit reason, and visit price. The composite keys of patient ID and visit date make up the primary key because the patients can visit the same doctor and each patient can have more than one visit. Therefore, each of these IDs alone would not make a good primary key. In our case, doctors can see many patients, so the foreign key of doctor ID belongs in the patient table. Remember, the many side is always the foreign key in connecting tables. Now let's add the attributes to the doctor's table. The attributes are doctor's ID, name, and specialty. When working through these functional dependencies and coming up with entities and attributes, I often get asked the question, do I have to have these exact entities and attributes? The response is no. Each individual will come up with their own titles and attributes, which will vary slightly and may even be fewer or more. When you are looking, what you are looking for is the end result of the database. It is broken down into its smallest parts, and does each table contain only information that is related to that entity or primary key? This is the concept behind functional dependency. Let's see if the attributes we have assigned to our entities are dependent on the primary key. For the patient entity, is the patient name directly related to the patient ID? In other words, do you need to have the patient name to determine the patient ID? The answer is yes. Therefore, they are dependent on the primary key and belong directly to the patient ID assigned. The same can be said for the patient address, the patient phone. They are directly related to the patient ID. We next look at the doctor ID. A doctor can see many patients a day during their visit time, but the doctor can't see more than one patient at a time, and the doctor is not directly related to a patient because a patient can choose to see a different doctor for each visit. That makes the doctor ID not directly related to the patient ID, which is the primary key. Next, we look at the visit date. Does the primary key of patient ID directly relate or have to do with the visit date? The answer again is no. The same can be said for the visit time, visit reason, and visit price. On a second glance, these four items deserve their own entity and are about the visit itself and not the patient. Lastly, we examine the doctor table. Is the doctor name directly related to the doctor ID? Yes. And is the specialty directly related to the doctor ID? Again, the answer is yes. That means that the doctor name and specialty are in the correct table and are dependent on the doctor ID. Therefore, after functional dependency, we have the patient table as you see here, the visit table, and then the doctor table. Now all tables are functionally dependent on their primary key. One question may still be lingering in your head about the visit table. Why did you not select the primary key as visit ID and still have the patient ID and doctor ID as the foreign keys? The answer is you could have done it this way, but it's not the most efficient. You should always use composite primary keys when you can instead to eliminate the need to add one or more attributes for just the sake of adding it. However, sometimes companies do want to have a specific ID for a specific table. Now that you have seen an example on functional dependency, give the functional dependency assignment a try. Thanks for watching.